Hey, it's Bob out here at Serenity Hill in the workshop today. A little project I told you about on my last video, a little project I'm going to make. And this is something for the bathroom. I'm making this one for my wife uh, to make the bathroom look a little nicer for her. So I will show you what it is that I'm going to be making and kind of step you through the design process and how you don't have to have plans from somebody else to make something. If you have some basic skills, joinery skills, and you can make measurements of your space and of the things you want to put in it, you can come up with a design yourself that's going to fit your space and not look like what everybody else has. So I'll show you the process that I go through on the design. All right, well, the first thing that I do is I go through and I say, okay, how far is it from the tank to the wall? And then of course I've got molding on the wall. How high is it from the floor to the top of the tank? What's the sizes on the cleansers, the spray bottles and the squeeze bottle for the toilet bowl cleanser? And what's the dimensions on her toilet brush? We got a toilet brush that's in one of those holders. It tips out. So and then what's the size on my toilet paper, so I know what sizes to make. So now I just did a little rough sketch, but then with my measurements now, this shows that one side's wider than the other, but it's actually going to be the exact same size. So my drawing's not perfectly to scale, but my dimensions are accurate. So the top width reflects the width from the tank, and then the side width allows for the fact that there's 3/4 inch molding down here on this side, so it can't be all the way out to the wall. I have to allow for the molding. And then I'm going to have a little overhang at the top and then an overhang at the front to cover the doors that will go on it. And then I got space here. My toilet bowl brush cleaner and holder, it's 18 inches tall, so I'm making this space 20 inches. It'd be a shelf here, and then on top of this shelf, that's where her the bleach spray cleaner and her little wipes and her the squeeze bottle of the toilet bowl cleaner will go. And in here is for the spare rolls of toilet paper, and this will have a little piece of plywood here with a groove cut in it, and the rolls will just drop in with the opening facing out, so you can just stick your finger in there and pull it up and load them down in the slot. And then when you can see how many you've got, again, doors covering it, and then I'll close it. And then it's going to be made out of birch, the same wood, scrap pieces from what I used to make my top here. And I will stain it black to match the vanity. And then I go through and double my measurements. I've got a neat app on my phone that what it allows me to do is let's say on here I can to know exactly what my width needs to be. I can say, okay, this is 3/4 inch plus 5.5 plus 3/4 plus 5.5 plus 3/4, and I can actually input those dimensions into the little calculator. I don't have to convert to decimal or anything like that, and it does the computation, shows me in inches and fractions, which is kind of neat. And then I do my cut list here of the different sizes of wood that I need, and now it's time to just start cutting wood so that I can start sanding and assembly. Now what I'm going to do to assemble this, and this is a part of figuring out kind of strategically how you're going to build the project. What I will do, I'm just going to use pocket holes and glue, pocket hole screws and glue, because it's going to be stained black. You won't be able to see it, but what I'll do is on the inside here of this upright, I will put pocket hole screws, drill pocket holes in here, in here, in here on the inside, and then those screws will go up into this bottom, the top piece, glue and screw. This shelf here, again, it'll use pocket holes. I'm not worried about it being adjustable because I know the size of these components, so it'll be a fixed shelf, and that'll also help provide lateral stability. So I'll drill some pocket holes in the bottom of this shelf. It's going to be 6 inches wide, so I'll put 3 pocket hole screws, and again, screws and glue. This will be screwed and since I've got this piece right here, what I'll do is I'll put the screw holes on this side so you'll never see them. On the bottom, to join the bottom to the sides, what I'll do is there'll be pocket hole screws drilled here and here to join this. And I may not use pocket holes here. I may just come in from the bottom on this one. And that's how it'll be held together, with pocket hole screws and glue. This will knock together pretty quickly. On the side here, I'll do a nice little detail. And this is just a little tip that will help you out. If you're building something, if you build the side of it flat, if there's any irregularity in your floor, it's real hard to balance it. So what you do is on the side here, I'll draw this out on a pencil. On the side here, it'll be straight. Okay, I'm trying to hold this in my hand. Let me draw a straight line. On the side, if I were to make the side, let's say this is a side, and I were to make it flat, well, if there's any irregularity or anything at all in the floor, it's going to want to teeter, and it'll be real hard to keep level. So what you do is you come along here, and this will be 1 inch. And so what I'll do is I'll just make a little curve there and here, and then I'll cut. Well, trying to draw and hold this is not easy. And then here, all right, so that's what the side will look like. So instead of it being a straight line across, then what I'll do is just make a little curve and cut. And this is funny because you'll never see this. It'll never be seen. But now, it makes it much easier to get it to be steady and stable, because you've just got the 4 points of contact there, and it's just much easier. That way, if you've got any irregularity in your floor, you don't have that interfering with the things that fit in flat. Now, if it's something that you can see, this adds a lot of little nice visual interest and makes it look more finished. But it also serves a practical purpose as well. So that's why you'll see that on a lot of furniture, especially nicer stuff. Instead of it just being straight like that, you'll see a little groove cut out in it. You may think, well, wouldn't it be more sturdy if it was flat? Well, it would be if you knew for a fact that your floor was flat enough that you would get 100% contact all the way. But unfortunately, most floors are not. And so that would cause it to want to be unsteady and rock. This actually makes it sit steadier and make it easier to get level. All right, time to get cutting wood. My first pieces of wood are going to be 6 inches, so I'll set it up. My miter saw, our table saw, the guide, it has the dimensions on it, but I haven't found it to be real accurate, and my tape measure is a lot more accurate. So set it up for 6 inches. Glasses on. And then what I like to do is make sure that I've got the blade up high enough, but not real high. I just run it so the teeth and the gullet between the teeth, the tops of the teeth and the gullets between the teeth clears, so it can run any dust out. And then here we go. Now that'll give me my 6-inch pieces. And that first piece that I cut was 18 inches wide. So I don't get 3 6-inch pieces, but that's all right. I need a couple that are 5.5 inches. This is 5 7/8. I need a couple pieces that are going to be 5.5 inches. So I'll just cut it down. Set my saw up for 5.5 inches. And cut it down, and then I'll have my piece for my 5.5 inch deep pieces that I need. Alright, I got all those cut to width, now to cut them to length. 34.5, I need 2 of those. And I like to make sure that all the sawdust is out on my fence here, because it can build up and keep it from being a square cut. Mercy. Okay, 1, 2. Alright, so this stack of wood right here is the 2 sides, the middle, the toilet paper holder, the bottom shelf, the middle shelf, and the top. Now it's just a matter of taking it over. I'll give these a light sanding, or probably I think what I'll do is I'll drill my pocket holes, then I'll sand them, and then once I've got them sanded, it'll be time for assembly. Now I know some people may say that, well, using pocket holes and screws isn't really joinery. I don't know. I'm not trying to do old-fashioned fandancy woodworking. I'm trying to make something that's going to be nice, that's going to hold together well, that's going to hold up well, and it's going to go together pretty simply. And pocket holes work great for this. This is a Craig, I don't know, what model is it? 520 Pro. Woohoo! And it lets you choose, you set the depth on the holder here, 3/4, and then it's got the bit for drilling the holes. and it's got markings on it for 1.5 inches, 3/4, and 1/2 inch. And you just slide the stop down to where the hole is lined up with the 3/4 mark. Tighten it down, tools even included, and boom, now you're ready to go. Now comes the part where I have to keep my head in the game and think. All right, so for my bottom piece, and I want to verify dimensions so I don't drill my holes in the wrong pieces the wrong way. Bottom piece, okay, and see, I'm glad I did that because that's my top piece. Okay, my 6 by 11 3/4, and it's right on the money. And I'm going to put the holes in the bottom on this one, so I'll pick the side that's not as pretty, and I will put 3 holes in this. Just clamp it up. This is a little bit harder than than the pine plywood. It takes a little more effort to drill through. That's why I like to sand afterwards. It leaves a little bit of a burr. And again, this is the bottom piece. Drill my holes. Okay. That's the bottom piece with the holes drilled. I think what I'll do to put the toilet paper holder in, it's not going to bear any weight or anything like that. I'll just glue it, and I'll go in with a couple brad nails from the side. Okay. Now will come the sanding. Now normally, let me vacuum this up. Get rid of my sawdust. Normally I would go, when it comes to sanding, I would go with an 80 grit, and then a 120 and a 180, or then maybe a 220, depending upon what I was going to finish it with. But this is already sanded and pretty smooth, and it's a veneer, which is real thin. The veneer layer on it's pretty thin. You can burn through that fairly easy, especially on the edges. So what I'll do is, it's smooth enough. I'll just start out. I'll do my 180 and possibly a 220, because I don't really need to do much sanding on it. It's nice and smooth already. I certainly don't need an 80 and a 120 on it. And sometimes people say, well, get it smoother, go up to 400 or 600. You got all those sandpaper, get it smoother. But and I've seen this myself. If you go too fine on the sandpaper, what you do is that basically you end up clogging up the pores in the wood with that real fine sanding dust, and it doesn't take the stain as well. And you're going to be putting the finish on it, and what you're going to be feeling in the final part of it is your finish and not the actual wood. So the most I go when I'm doing a finish on things is I'll go up to 220. But lately I've just been going on a lot of my projects to 180 on the stain, and then by the time you put a finish on it, it takes a finish real well and it comes out real smooth. So I don't go more than 180, possibly 220 on things. And plywood, I don't sand as much as I do a piece of regular, like pine or oak hardwood, because the veneer on the plywood is real thin. Like I've got some oak plywood, and the veneer on it is even thinner than the veneer on this birch plywood. And you could, if you go aggressive with the sanding on it, you can burn a hole through it quick. All right, time to sand. I always hook my vacuum up to it. Okay, now I know somewhere, probably at some point along the way, somebody is going to say, well, Bob, you were sanding and you weren't wearing a dust mask. Well, you're right. I wasn't wearing a dust mask. Um, what I've got, this sander, I'm using a I don't know, a mesh or a screen type sanding paper. Um, and I've got an 8-hole. The dust collection system on my sander has 8 holes in it, and then I hook it up to my shop vac. It's got a 2-inch hose, and I reduce it down so that it fits into my dust collector port on my sander. And I found I basically get no sawdust out in the air from it, because this vacuum does such a good job of pulling that fine sawdust through the screen here. And I mean, I end up with virtually no sawdust anywhere around. It's near dust proof, and so I haven't been wearing a dust mask when I've been sanding with that. So, right or wrong, that's what I've been doing. All right, time for start assembling. This is the top, and I know I need to go 3/4 inch from the edge, so I cheated. I knew my plywood's 3/4 inch, so I just used a piece of plywood there to draw me a line. And I'll get my glue. Hopefully I've got enough glue. I bought another bottle. I don't remember where I put it. So hopefully I've got enough glue to finish this project. But let's see if I can get the glue out. And going into this plywood here. Hope I don't scare you throwing this wood around. The beauty of these pocket holes, if you make sure that your blade is straight, your blade on your table saw is at 90 degrees, and and your fence is parallel to your blade, then you get nice cuts. And so basically, when you are doing your assembly, you don't have to worry too much about square, because your cuts are square, your wood is square. And so basically it's just get this lined up. I should have gone ahead. And nothing went through. All right, I'll go ahead and wipe my squeeze out off with a damp rag. Okay, so I get that on. And now I'll take my, to get the spacing right for my other ones, what I'll do is I'll take my 5.5 inch piece that's going to be for the toilet holder. I'll put it on there, and then I'll take and just make sure I get my center piece and not my outside piece, and I'll put that on, and that way I know I've got the right spacing. And I'm good to go there. piece out of the center. And the beauty of this with the variable torque that it's got is it gets to a point and stops, and the head of it may be turning, but the bit's not, because you've reached your max torque. So take that piece out and drive my screws in. Okay. I've used this rag on so much glue squeeze out that it's getting stiff. I'm going to have to get me a new rag for that. Okay. And again, I'm not worried about brad nails, if they'll be sufficient with this, because I know what's going to be going on it, and it'd probably be enough just with the glue. And you know, there's a lot of the stuff that you buy in the store that has not one screw in it. It's made totally with glue and brad nails. So don't be afraid to use some brad nails. And I'm going to go ahead and get me a clamp. Okay. Again, I always like to use my safety glasses when I'm using the nailer. The reason I like to use the glasses when I'm using the nailer is sometimes they kick up dust, sawdust, and chips and stuff like that. And that way I don't get that blown up in my eyes. Alright, that shelf is in. Wipe my glue squeeze up. And I think what I'm going to do here before I put my screws in the side is I'm going to go ahead and put some brad nails in the center divider to make sure I've got it. That'll get me squared. Okay, that way I know it's flush on the bottom. And then I can make sure before I clamp it. Did I get the bottom right? So that my shelf is going to be level. Okay. Now let's put the screws in. It works better with it clamped. That way it doesn't try to spread apart as you're putting the screws in. Alright, let me wipe off my glue squeeze out. Alright. Alright, so there it is. This is where the toilet brush holder will go. This is where the cleansers will go. And then I've got to cut a slot in this. And this is where my this is the piece where my toilet paper will go. I've cut it. Yeah, I want this side out. This is where my toilet paper roll holder will go. I'll put that in there and get it nailed in place, and it'll have a slot in it where the toilet paper will go. In fact, I might just cut it all the way down, and that way it'll make it easier to fasten. But so then it'll be, I'll cut a 1/4 inch sheet of plywood, and I'll nail in the back of it for the back, and then I'll cut me a couple more pieces of a plywood here. I've got some left to make doors for it, and then the overhang will cover the doors by the overhang will come a 1/4 inch past the doors, and then put the doors on it, and boom, there you go. All right, so there it is with the back on it. I've got the shelf for the this is the shelf for the toilet brush holder, our toilet brush cleaner and its holder. shelf for her cleansers, storage for toilet paper. I've got a door cut and stain to put on it, but I can't put the door on it yet because I don't have any hinges. So I'll get some hinges, be able to put the door on. And I'm just going to put one door. It's going to cover this side over here. This side I'll leave open so you see the toilet paper. But that's what it looks like. Just simple, made out of 3/4 inch birch plywood. It was left over from another project, size to fit our stuff. All I have to do right now is let the stain finish drying. I put it on, I wiped it down, so I got to let the stain finish drying, then I can put my poly on it. I have to go to I have to run town tomorrow anyway, so I'll get a couple hinges to put on it so I can mount the door, and it'll be ready to go in place. And stylistically it matches up, and color wise it'll match up nicely with the vanity that's in there. So all right, so here I am. I got the thing finished. You can see fits in there right between the toilet tank and the wall. I cut my little details at the bottom, but you'll never see them. But then I put just one door on it, and behind that door you've got the Febreze and the cleaner and the toilet brush holder. And then on the other side, got storage for spare rolls of toilet paper. And I went ahead and stained it to black with the square top because that matches the squared off edge and the reveal and the basic shape of the vanity, and it's the same stain as on the vanity, so it looks like it belongs together. I just wish I'd have been able to get some latches like this, but I got a selection of knobs, and this is the one Debbie likes, so that's the one that goes on it. So not bad. And again, that was made with just some scraps left over from another project. So I've got a few small little pieces left over from this that I'll probably end up using somewhere along the way. All right, hope you enjoyed that. This is Bob at Serenity Hill. Thanks for stopping by, and we will talk to you on the next one. Bye now.